Today I'm ranking each member of the 7 in a tier list that goes from completely dominates all the way down to absolutely dead. And trust me, in a universe where entire planets get glassed from orbit and parasitic alien floods consume everything in their path, even having superpowers doesn't guarantee you'll make it past breakfast. This isn't your typical superhero analysis. This is about dropping the most dysfunctional team of soups into a war where extinction is always one bad day away. I'm starting with the big man himself, Homelander, and I'm putting him straight into Thrives. Homelander is basically everything the UNSC wishes they had rolled into one terrifying package. He's got flight, super strength, invulnerability, and those laser eyes that can cut through basically anything. In a universe where humanity is constantly outgunned and outmatched, having a one-man air force would be game-changing. The UNSC would absolutely worship this guy. Think about it. He's got that all-American aesthetic they love, he's ridiculously powerful, and he genuinely believes humans are the superior species. That's basically UNSC propaganda made flesh. They'd slap him on every recruitment poster from Earth to the outer colonies. Homelander would eat up all that military worship, all those speeches about human superiority and protecting Earth at any cost. But here's where it gets interesting. Homelander's biggest weakness has always been his need for love and approval. In the Halo universe, he'd finally get that unconditional adoration he's always craved. Entire colonies would see him as their savior. Kids would have Homelander action figures. He wouldn't need to fake being a hero anymore because he'd actually be saving humanity from extinction. Against the Covenant, Homelander would be unstoppable. Plasma rifles can't hurt him. Energy swords would bounce off his skin. He could fly circles around banshees and tear apart wraiths with his bare hands. Even elite zealots would be nothing more than angry space chickens to him. The Covenant would probably start worshipping him as some kind of demon or false prophet. Quick pit stop here. If you're enjoying this breakdown of superhuman carnage, smash that like button. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers and every single one counts. Now let's talk about Queen Maeve, and she lands solidly in Survives. Maeve is basically Wonder Woman if Wonder Woman had severe PTSD and a drinking problem. She's got super strength, near invulnerability, and centuries of combat experience. In the Halo universe, she'd fit right in with the Spartans, not quite Spartan level, but close enough to earn their respect. The thing is, Maeve would actually find purpose again in this universe. No more corporate bullshit, no more fake photo shoots, just pure survival warfare. She'd probably end up leading ODST squads or working alongside Spartan teams. Her cynicism and battle-hardened attitude would mesh perfectly with hardened Marines who've seen entire worlds burn. Maeve's biggest advantage is that she's already broken inside. The Halo universe breaks people. It takes hopeful young soldiers and turns them into hollow-eyed veterans who've watched too many friends die. Maeve's already there. She's already seen the worst humanity has to offer. Watching Covenant forces glass a colony would be Tuesday for her, but she's not invincible. A direct hit from a fuel rod cannon would mess her up. Covenant energy weapons could eventually wear her down, and if she ever encountered the Flood, well, that's where things get really ugly. The Flood doesn't care how tough you are, they just keep coming until you're either dead or assimilated. A-Train gets dropped into, hates it, and honestly, this one's almost tragic. His super speed is incredible, but speed doesn't mean much when you're fighting a war across entire star systems. Sure, he could run circles around grunts and probably outmaneuver most Covenant ground forces. But what happens when a Covenant cruiser shows up and starts glassing everything from orbit? A-Train's biggest problem is that he's a coward at heart. He's used to running away from his problems, literally.
I can't stop, I can't stop, I can't stop, I can't stop, I can't stop.
But in the Halo universe, there's nowhere to run. The Covenant doesn't negotiate. The Flood doesn't stop. When push comes to shove, A-Train would probably try to abandon his post and run to the furthest corner of the galaxy. The UNSC would court-martial him within a week. Military discipline and A-Train's selfish nature would clash constantly. He'd be complaining about rations while Marines are dying around him. He'd want special treatment while everyone else is sleeping in bunkers and eating protein paste. Even worse, his heart condition would be a massive liability. Combat stims and adrenaline boosters are standard in UNSC military operations. A-Train's already damaged cardiovascular system would probably give out during his first real engagement with Covenant forces. He'd either die of a heart attack or become completely useless when he can't use his powers. The Deep falls straight into Dead, and this might be the easiest placement on this entire list. His powers are completely ocean-based, and newsflash, most of the Halo universe takes place in space or on land. He can talk to sea creatures, but good luck finding a chatty space whale when Covenant phantoms are bombing your position. The guy is basically Aquaman's disturbed cousin, and just like Aquaman would be useless in most Halo scenarios, the Deep would be completely out of his element. His durability is decent, but nothing compared to what Covenant weapons can dish out. A single plasma grenade would turn him into seafood, but the real tragedy is that the Deep would probably volunteer for some underwater mission, thinking he'd finally found his niche. Maybe the UNSC needs someone to explore the ocean floors of Harvest or reach for Forerunner artifacts. He dived down there all confident, finally feeling useful, and then realized that Covenant forces have been systematically glassing ocean surfaces for decades. The marine life he depends on for information would either be dead, mutated, or completely traumatized. And if the Deep somehow survived long enough to encounter the Flood, that's where his story gets really dark. The Flood doesn't just infect land-based creatures, they consume everything organic, including marine life. Imagine the Deep's horror when he realizes the fish he's trying to communicate with have been turned into grotesque flood forms. His one source of comfort and power becomes a nightmare of infected biomass trying to assimilate him. Starlight lands and survives, but barely. Annie's got flight, super strength, and those light-based energy blasts that could actually be pretty effective against Covenant forces. Her powers work similarly to hard light technology, which means she might be one of the few supes who could actually damage Forerunner constructs if she ever encountered them. The problem is Annie's moral compass. She joined the Seven thinking she could make a difference, be a real hero, and the Halo universe would give her that chance. She'd throw herself into protecting civilian evacuations, fighting alongside Marines, doing everything she always wanted to do as a superhero. But the scale of loss in this universe would break her spirit. Annie would watch entire colonies get glassed despite her best efforts. She'd see families torn apart by Covenant raids, children orphaned by the millions, and slowly realize that even with her powers, she can't save everyone. The UNSC's sometimes morally questionable tactics would also conflict with her idealism. When ONI starts talking about acceptable losses and necessary sacrifices, Annie would struggle with the reality of total war. Her light powers would be incredibly useful in underground operations or fighting in darkened ship corridors, but she's still fundamentally human. Covenant energy weapons could kill her, and she lacks the tactical training that makes Spartans so effective. She'd survive through pure determination and moral conviction, but she'd hate every minute of it. Black Noir gets placed in Thrives, and this might surprise some people. Here's the thing about Noir. He's basically a silent, unstoppable killing machine with enhanced durability and combat skills. In a universe where stealth operations and assassination missions are crucial to humanity's survival, Noir would be invaluable. Oni would snatch him up immediately. They'd love having an operative who never talks, never questions orders, and can infiltrate Covenant positions without making a sound. Noir could slip aboard Covenant ships, eliminate key targets, and disappear before anyone knew he was there. His psychological conditioning would actually be an asset in the Halo universe, where following orders without question can mean the difference between victory and extinction. The Covenant would have no idea how to handle him. They're used to facing loud, aggressive human soldiers who fight with honor and desperation. Noir would be something completely different, a shadow that kills elites and brutes without making a sound. They'd start developing paranoia about human ghost warriors stalking their ships. But here's where it gets really interesting. What happens when Noir encounters the Flood? His mental conditioning might actually protect him from some of the psychological horror that breaks other soldiers. He's already comfortable with violence and death. The Flood's grotesque nature might not affect him the way it affects normal humans. Let me pause for a second, because this analysis is getting intense. If you're finding this breakdown as fascinating as I am, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We're building something special here, and I want you to be part of this community that explores these wild crossover scenarios. Translucent drops into dead faster than you can say active camouflage. His invisibility powers seem impressive until you realize the Covenant has been dealing with stealth technology for decades. Elite Rangers have active camouflage that's probably more advanced than whatever compound gives Translucent his powers. But the real problem is that Translucent is fundamentally a creep who uses his powers for voyeuristic purposes rather than actual combat.
I'll just go.
The UNSC would figure out what kind of person he really is within days. Military discipline and Translucent's perverted tendencies would clash immediately. He'd probably end up in the brig before he ever saw actual combat. Even if he somehow made it to the battlefield, his powers wouldn't save him. Covenant motion trackers don't rely solely on visual detection. Heat signatures, movement sensors, and energy readings would all give away his position. A single plasma rifle burst would end his invisible reign of terror permanently. The worst part is that Translucent would probably try to use his powers to spy on female UNSC personnel, and in a military where everyone is armed with weapons that can kill superhuman beings, that's basically suicide. Some hardened Marine sergeant would put a shotgun blast through his invisible skull and call it self-defense. Stormfront gets thrown into dead, and good riddance. Her electrical powers might seem useful in a high-tech war, but her Nazi ideology would make her an immediate enemy of everything the UNSC stands for. Humanity in the Halo universe is fighting for survival against alien supremacists. The last thing they need is a human supremacist causing internal conflict. The UNSC's multicultural, multi-ethnic military structure would be everything Stormfront despises. She'd see human soldiers of different races working together, taking orders from diverse leadership, and probably lose her mind. Her first attempt at spreading her hateful ideology would result in a court-martial at best, execution at worst. But let's say somehow she avoided military justice and made it to actual combat. Her electrical powers would be impressive against individual Covenant soldiers, but completely useless against their vehicles and aircraft. A single Banshee strafe would end her permanently. Covenant energy shielding technology would probably resist her electrical attacks anyway. The real irony is that Stormfront would find herself fighting alongside the very people she considers inferior, and they'd be the ones saving humanity while she rants about racial purity. The Covenant doesn't discriminate when they glass planets. They kill everyone equally, which makes her human supremacist views even more pathetic and irrelevant. So there you have it, the Seven thrown into humanity's greatest existential crisis. From Homelander finally finding his perfect war to the Deep getting turned into alien chum, it's a mixed bag of survival, domination, and spectacular failure. The brutal truth is that even superpowers don't guarantee survival when you're facing extinction-level threats on a galactic scale. Homelander and Black Noir would thrive in this nightmare, finally finding purposes that match their twisted skill sets. Queen Maeve and Starlight would survive through sheer determination. Though they'd hate every bloody second of it, A-Train would spend his time complaining while everyone else fights and dies. And the Deep, Translucent, and Stormfront would become footnotes in humanity's desperate struggle for survival. The thing is, this isn't really about who has the best powers or the strongest abilities. It's about who can adapt to a universe where moral compromises aren't just necessary, they're essential for species survival. The Halo universe doesn't care about your corporate superhero image or your personal brand. It only cares whether you can contribute to keeping humanity alive for one more day.